Twisted Metal. Oh shit, Twisted Metal. God damn it, here's what happened. Welcome to Gabbin' Games, fellas. Welcome to Gabbin' Games. I appreciate you being here. Is the audio working? Okay. Woo! Nothing like a ticking clock under your butthole. Hey! No! That's the goddamn devil went down. Nothing like a ticking clock under your butthole to get you someplace on time. Oh, sorry. Here you go. Listen, here's what's going on. So, what just happened? Right. I realized the reason I was getting so many goddamn crashes was for some reason my external SSD. It doesn't matter. You're not interesting. The point is Jim Ryan's chin, which is what I use to make the little puppet, if you can call it that, talk, is on the F drive, which I've named Dr. Sean Murphy after the brilliant surgeon from The Good Doctor. And unfortunately, OBS can't find his chin. That's why he's not speaking. But the point is, you know I love you guys. How do you know I love you? How do you know I love you? Because I'm not even going to finish this fucking blow pop because I want to bite into it, but we got a big fucking beefy fucking show. Hang on. God, it's so good. Do I have your permission to bite into it, chat? The first 5 things I see, I'm going to bite into it or throw it away. Here we go. 10 seconds. Give you a second delay. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And right now I have... Everybody says bite it. Fuck it, we're biting it. Oh my God, so good. So good. Hang on. Ricardo, talk to the chat real quick. Tell them what's going on today on your show. Come on now. Ricardo, get in the waiting room. Come on now. All right, here we go. Who's hyper, boys? This guy. You know that joke? It says, oh, I love the Flavor Gaming Nation. Dating. The joke that goes, what's green and smells like Miss Piggy? And then the answer's Kermit's finger. Remember that? That was awesome. Anyway. All right, here we go. Welcome to Gabbin' Games. Here's what's going on, babies. Listen, I'm gonna swallow it. Yeah, it has gum inside. You don't remember that joke? I love that joke. It's the best joke in the world. Come on now. Come back up. People are like, Jeffy, what the fuck kind of show you running here? I'm just saying, you know. All right, here we go. Let me tell you what's going on, and then we're going to immediately open with the Kojima story. We have a great guest today for about 10 or 15, 20 minutes of his time. He knows a lot about the man. He's done a great number of very successful videos about the man. Before we get to that, let me do what the kids like to call housekeeping. First off, if you're coming to the after party today, the after party is available to all members at any tier of Gabbin' Games. If you're curious about joining the show and becoming a member, all that information is down below in this very video about, like, in the there's like a link and all that shit. But the Layers of Fear demo just dropped today. Layers of Fear, as you may or may not know, is a combination of Bloober Team's Layers of Fear 1, which is one of the best horror games ever made, Layers of Fear 2, which is not great, Layers of Fear 1 DLC, and then there's some connective tissue. They've put it all together in a singular package. I don't think you're going to a menu and going, oh, I want to play Layers of Fear 2 now. I think they've kind of created a singular story, but that could just be wishful thinking. I don't know that, but they've built it in Unreal 5. All the trailers look scrumptious. We're going to be playing the demo that just dropped on the after party today. On the after party as well, we will be calling GameStop. I will be giving away a $10 video game gift card to the system of your choice. If you are on the show and I pick you to answer 3 trivia questions. If you answer the 3 trivia questions, it doesn't even matter. You get 1 right, 2 right, 3 right, doesn't matter. Then I'm going to call a random GameStop, and if the guy or girl behind the counter does better than you, you don't get the gift card. But if you beat the guy at the GameStop, you get the gift card. We're doing that on the after party. And then I do want to let you know, Bukaki says give away these nuts. I would, Bukaki, but from what I hear from your girlfriend, she's already chopped them off. You get it because he's pussy whipped. Guys, you get it? Men and women, we're all so different. Listen to me. Steam right now is running their sports fest. Now, I'm not a sports guy. No shit, Jeffy. We can tell. Fuck you. I'm not a sports guy, but it's not just like hardcore sports, although there are great deals. You can get 70% off the new FIFA. You can get the goddamn NBA 2K23 for $10, right? But there's also kind of arcadey sports and golf with friends, tape to tape, which is like rogue hockey. What was the Konami? Blades of Steel. It's like Blades of Steel meets a rogue game. There's poker, all kinds of shit. I want to bring this to your attention for 2 reasons, though. There's this one game that is available again. It is fucking phenomenal. It is fucking phenomenal. RoboDunk is there, and for the next week, I guess it's running for a week. It is. If you love NBA Jam and you get fucking frustrated behind the fact that, or about the fact that, no one really seems to capture that magic midway arcade sauce of the 90s anymore. These fellas have done it. The biggest tragedy about this game comes and is published and developed by Jolly Punch Game. I know a bunch of industry people watch this fucking show. If you're in the industry and you have the means and contacts, please reach out to these motherfuckers. They're not asking for your help. I'm just unilaterally making a call on behalf of gamers who need to play this game. There's no net code. It's 1 to 4 player local. Fuck that up, it's dumb butthole. Am I right? Wink, wink. Am I right? Yes. I am right, and I'm right because this needs to be online. And if you're Sony or Microsoft or even Nintendo, I know that's not their thematic, and I don't know how good the team is. Maybe this is held together by, like, just wishes and dreams. But if they're a good enough developer, they could use your help. I sure would love to see something like this, or specifically this, get the goddamn online treatment, because it is absolutely fucking fantastic. Go fuck yourself, a cab. A cab in the chat says, boring, to be honest. You're an idiot. This game is fantastic. It's fantastic. The other thing I want to let you know, some of you guys know I'm doing some consulting right now. I've been working a little bit with Spazbo. I've been working a little bit with Brett on this great game, which is now available in the Steam Sports Fest. It is called Trick Shot. It is not what the demo that you can get today is not multiplayer or it's not online, but it will be. But it basically is Tony Hawk meets Quake in essence. It's very, very cool. Still has a ways to go. I just got involved with it about 2 weeks ago, but these guys are some crackerjack motherfucking game makers. Check it out if you're interested in what your old Papa Jaffe's been consulting on. This is called Trick Shot. And this is over on the Steam Sports Fest. It's only for PC right now. The last thing I'll tell you before we jump right into the Kojima news. Who is fucking on heroin? No, it's cocaine. What's the thing that makes you go fast? Oh, I should take another Ritalin. I don't need another Ritalin, come on now. No, look, I got them all in the box and everything. Okay, let's focus. Listen to this, man. This is coming up. Gears of War is our first Gabbin' Games Club title. We'll be doing this every month or every 6 weeks or so, okay? Gears of War is number 1. I'll be doing a live play of it this week in the Cult Calypso room on the Discord. We will be having our first meeting, which is just the members of Cult Calypso and higher. I will be sending out 2 dates to choose from after this stream. Please, Ricardo, if I forget, please remind me so I can let those members decide. It's either going to be a Friday show or a Saturday or Sunday show of this coming weekend. And then Cliff Blazinski will be coming on for the second show to talk all about Gears of War specifically and our thoughts and our deep dives into it. And that probably will be the next week, but I'm inches away from having that locked down. So that is coming up starting this week, our very first game club. I think I already have the second game in the game club lined up, but we'll talk about it later. Okay. Lastly, I'm thinking of just killing this. Ricardo says, mention it. I'm giving away a $70 gift card. $70 gift card to anybody who wins the Gabbin' Games Fall Guys building competition. Build a level, submit it. We will all play the levels together. We will all vote. The person who made the best level gets a $70 gift card. The game is free on pretty much every system. The creation tools are super fucking simple as shit. I've only gotten one person interested. If I don't get like 5 people telling me that by end of the week they want to do this, I'm just going to scrap it. But anyway, there you go. That's still happening. Finally. Well, there it is. This is me the other day fucking around with the tools. So if you want to see how simple this, I'm not going to show you the whole video, but it's insanely fucking simple. It's insanely simple to sort of build stuff and put stuff around and try it and test it and fuck around with it. It's a lot of fun too. So if you're interested, give it a look. Okay.
I'll show you how.
Shut up, old man. Now, listen, last thing I'll tell you, then we'll get right to good sir Max. The latest podcast today on this very stream, not the after party, but this party, we have 6 slots filled. We have 2 slots left. At the end of the show, towards the end of the show, I'll be asking 2 more trivia questions. The winners will go on the slot of 8. And that winner of that slot of 8 will go with me to compete with me or against me on a Elitist Podcast future episode. If you don't know, the Elitist Podcast is a video game podcast that is video game trivia where you can match your video game knowledge against other people. Okay. Let us begin. I want to talk to you about Hideo Kojima. Let me first send our guest today, our guest of honor. You may know him, you should know him, Max Durat, who has made an insanely group of great videos about Metal Gear and Kojima and all kinds of other things over on his channel, which you can see right here. I'll link it below at the end of the show. His most successful video has almost gotten 3 million videos talking about the most profound moment in video game history, which comes from Metal Gear Solid 2, in his opinion. We'll talk a little bit about that. This is all about the fact that there is a documentary dropping. I think it's the 17th of June. Now you have to see it in person, but hopefully it will be distributed other places. It's from the guy that did the documentary, a guy named Glenn Milner. He did the great documentary on Rogue Squadron, or Rogue One. What was the fucking movie with the Felicity Jones? That one. This is all about Hideo Kojima. He's got Del Toro, he's got Grimes, George Miller, Norman Reedus, Churches. I don't know who the fuck Winding Refn is, but whatever. And of course, Kojima himself. They're going to talk about his creative process as he was launching his independent studio, Kojima Productions. Okay. Rogue One, right. Thank you, Graham. I don't know when this is going to launch. In terms of if you go to the Tribeca Film Festival in New York, you can get a ticket. You can see it if you can get one on the 17th at 5 o'clock. Maybe somebody out there can go see it and get back to us with a review. And there'll also be an extended QA with Kojima after. But if you don't get to see it, hopefully we'll all get to see it pretty fucking soon. So I wanted to talk. Let me give him a link real quick. People like, Jeffy, are you on the dope? He did not. Oh, that guy. Okay, Refn directed Drive, says Blue Gamer. Gotcha. Yep, Play, you goddamn right. It is good. Okay, he's saying that Robodunk looks good. You goddamn right. Okay, I'm going to send Max a invite. Give me a second. This is a new OBS feature. Just take me a second to get up and running. We will not get to see his beautiful face, but we will get to hear his sexy voice. So, Max, I am going to tweet you this over on the Discord. Not on the Discord. I'm sorry, Maxwell. I'm going to tweet you this over on the Twitter. I'm sorry, fellas. You guys are like, Jesus, Jeffy, what are you doing? I'm just, I'm hyper, man. Okay, there you go, Max. I just sent it to you. Hit me up when you get it. But in the meantime, yeah. So what we're talking about is like, okay, so here's what I'll tell you my take on Kojima before Max gets in, and whenever Max gets in, we're ready to go. What do you mean you hate unskippable ads? You're watching ads? All right, let me bring this up so I can see it. How do you upgrade your subscription, Carlos? Well, thank you for even considering it. I think you do that over on YouTube. You probably can't do it on iOS unless you open Safari. Okay, so I want to make sure he got the link there. All right, I sent it to you, Max. I know you're in the chat. Let me know if you didn't get it, and I will resend it. So the reason this is even on my mind to talk about Kojima, because I'm kind of torn on Hideo Kojima. Other than Resident Evil, Like Metal Gear used to be my all-time favorite franchise, and only in the last maybe year and a half has Resident Evil, taken the lead. But I was a fan from the beginning of Metal Gear, so I love it. I loved the game. What was the thing that he did with the Game Boy Advance where you have to play it out in the sun? I love that. I was terrible at what's the mech game he does? Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. The something Zero or something. The mech game, they fight each other and shit. I dug that, so I like the guy a lot. But I also Zone of the Enders. There you go. I struggle because I don't necessarily know. Like maybe he's both, right? I don't want to say this because people get mad at me, but it's like on one hand, I think like his games are not that successful, right? And so for being the most famous video game designer on the planet, he has eclipsed Miyamoto. A lot of that is because Miyamoto's not really making games anymore. He has eclipsed Miyamoto, but you'd think this guy is the guy who made Fortnite or the guy who made FIFA, the EA FIFA, or the guy who made Call of Duty. But the average Metal Gear Solid, if you put all of them together, sells about 5.5 million copies, which is great, which is absolutely great. But what it's not is a mega success. So it's like, I want to talk to Max and Ricardo, let me know if Max has gotten the link. I want to talk to Max about what he expects to see in the documentary, what he would want to see, what he thinks about Kojima's legacy, what he thinks about that video he made where Kojima pretty much predicted the goddamn future, which to me may actually go down as his greatest fucking legacy. But we're struggling to get Max on. We'll give him a few more minutes, and then we'll just move on to another topic until we get Max on the show. Jorge says, Jaffe, is your view that success equals good? Of course not. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, for example, if somebody said, is Hideo Kojima the Steven Spielberg of video games? I would say no, he's not. Is he the David Lynch of video games? I would say quite probably, right? So I'm not suggesting he's not good. Oh, he says he's in there. Okay, let's bring Max in. I'm not sure where he is. Max, can you hear me? What if all this time Max was just being polite? Max, are you speaking? The webcam source. Okay. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking idiot. All right, let's go. Maxwell.
Hello?
Hey, man, it's Jaffe. How are you?
Pretty good, sir. How are you today?
Well, I'm a fucking moron, sir, because I just didn't realize that I had to press a button that had your name on it to bring you on the show. Come on now.
That's all good.
Okay, Ricardo, please let me know if Max's audio is fine, and if it is, we'll keep rolling, or we'll keep rolling, let me know. Okay, so Max.
Yes.
Let's talk about Kojima. The most successful video you've made on your very popular YouTube channel is, you're almost 3 million views about what you call sort of the most profound, most important video game moment of all time. How much Kojima, how much of a fanboy would you say you are of Hideo Kojima?
Well, I worship at his altar, peace be upon him.
What do you, how deep does it go?
Well, I mean, my earliest childhood memory was watching my father play Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1 when I was 5. It really explains a lot about why my personality is so fucked up as it is right now. Okay. But no, really, I adore his games. I very much look forward to his games whenever they come out. But, I'm not such a blind fanboy to not acknowledge that he sometimes goes too far. It's sort of like the metaphor I like to use a lot when I criticize Kojima is it's kind of like how, when George Lucas made the prequels for Star Wars, a lot of people say the reason why they didn't turn out so well as the original trilogy is because he was surrounded by yes men. Right. Sort of the same basic idea, like when it comes to Death Stranding, although I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as travesty as those movies were. But
sure, I agree.
Yeah, I love him, but he's mortal and imperfect like the rest of us.
What do you think it is then? Because it's not the sales. Obviously, if you're a new generation coming up, because the last meaningful Metal Gear, I know Metal Gear 5, which I have not played. I played all the other ones, though. Metal Gear 5, I know, has some amazing shit in it, but it's obviously undercooked and it's not it's not literally complete in a lot of ways. But there's some great stuff in it, but it wasn't like it set the building on fire with sales. So the last time Kojima really had a big fucking honking hit out in the world, a lot of the younger generation probably doesn't really even know what the fuck Metal Gear Solid is. So Death Stranding comes out. I know I literally spoke with somebody at Kojima Productions. It did make its money back, but it wasn't this big hit. But yet Kojima walks around still with this insane, in a good way, entourage of love and good wishes and goodwill from fanboys. What do you think it is about him that makes him stand out? Because I would say he's probably the most famous video game designer working today, given that Miyamoto is kind of out of the picture.
Well, I would say it's sort of something similar. You can make a comparison with certain auteurs when it comes to film. You know, there are some people that have that privilege because they did something with their films that garnered the most. They did something with their films that was progressive in a lot of ways and garnered the most amount of attention. So you could say that for people like Christopher Nolan or Denis Villeneuve or Guillermo del Toro,
right?
In regards to them. With Kojima, I think it's the same, but in regards to games, he did so much for video games as an art form, and he was successful to enough of a degree that he inspires this love within people that know about what he's done. So when you think about what he's accomplished, he was largely instrumental in making video games as we understand them today cinematic. He demonstrated the utility of fourth wall breaking moments in his games. He introduced really, really dark and complicated themes that you wouldn't tend to associate with games back in the day, like politics or gene therapy and
all the memes and the sort of media illiteracy, which would get us in trouble, which it has. When you made your video, just let people know who haven't seen it, although I see some comments in the chat saying that video is fucking awesome. But when you made that video, you were talking specifically about Metal Gear 2 when you said it was kind of the most profound video game moment. Can you talk a little bit about what it is you think Kojima brought to the table there?
Sure. So, well, first of all, I got to do this anytime I talk about this video. I wasn't the person that originally made that declaration. It was my buddy, Steve. He goes by Logo Steve on YouTube, and he gave me his permission to do a video on it. And that's the one that blew up. But anyways, the question was why I believe it's the most profound.
Yeah, well, what was it that made you say that moment, like, really cemented Kojima as somebody with like this vision that was worth paying attention to?
So how can I simplify this in the best possible way? So obviously one of the major issues that we face nowadays as a species is misinformation, not really being able to determine what's true because our personal biases get in the way of our understanding of reality. And, people like to say, well, I'm able enough to look past, misinformation and being able to deduce truth on my own. But when push comes to shove, you can easily demonstrate that that's not true. Right. And what Metal Gear Solid 2 did with its story, it used the interactivity of games to demonstrate to people playing the game, and by proxy, the character they were controlling, Raiden, that you can be led to believe something that's completely false as long as it suits your emotional state. Does that make sense?
It does. I was going to ask you, do you think the very switcheroo trick that pissed off a lot of people, that everybody thought because of the demo you were going to be playing Solid Snake and most of the game you play Raiden, do you think that in and of itself was sort of a meta comment that he was making?
Exactly. And yes, the part of what makes that moment so profound is exactly that. People were so wedded to the idea of playing Solid Snake again that when they played Raiden, they completely ignored the underlying point that Kojima was trying to make with that moment. It's that people will ignore the truth that they need to hear because they're just so wedded to something that
it's comfortable, that they
it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think there's anyone else making, because we're doing this thing coming up, the Gabbin and Games game club with Gears of War. And I want, I was an English major and I love taking, whether it's a book or a movie or a game and really diving in, not just what the author wanted to convey subtextually, but sort of what came through regardless. Because one of my biggest lessons when I was designing games was I was designing games about all kinds of things subtextually that I had no fucking clue when I was designing them what it was about. And only after the fact, I'm like, oh my God, that was about my crumbling marriage. That was about my relationship with my kids, whatever. Do you think there's another or other creatives in the industry that you can kind of focus on or that you can point to and say, they're not a lot of them, but like Kojima, they are expressing a worldview through their work?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. I think
who would you say are some of the big ones?
Well, one of the most underrated ones is probably Suda51. You know him for doing No More Heroes. But like some of his most profound games, no pun intended, was games like Killer 7, Silver Case, Flower, Sun, and Rain. All are based on sort of a unifying idea behind his work that, you need to kill the past. That's the words that he uses. So it's sort of like a postmodern commentary on modern art, and he does it wonderfully. But let's see, more popular ones. I would say, as far as popular video game auteurs go, just below Kojima, you might cite people like Ken Levine, obviously of BioShock fame. Warren Spector, although he's from way back in the day, he did Deus Ex.
Would you say Druckmann's on the list?
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah, I wouldn't say that his works are persistently and all the time just dealing with these really complex ideas, but he does have moments in his games where they really do get to the deepest, darkest depths of the human condition and sort of why human beings do what they do. So yeah, I would.
Let me ask this. So in movies and other art forms, movies and TV specifically, when you have auteurs, usually, not every now and then there's a breakthrough, but more often than not, they're not given the budgets of the people who are making the Marvel movies, right?
Yes.
Because most people find those movies arty-farty and boring. Kojima has been able to sort of, so far, get the money that would usually be set aside for a big AAA tentpole game. And, whether you're talking Metal Gear or Death Stranding, he's been able to funnel that massive influx of cash into an art film, really.
Yeah.
Death Stranding, I think no one would argue that, it's divisive, but regardless, it made its money back, but it wasn't the massive hit they were going for. I know they're doing the second one now, obviously, and I know they own the IP, which is what I've been led to understand is why they're continuing it. Do you think there's a point where someone like Kojima is like, he's going to have to make a choice, I imagine, between getting the big budget and playing in the commercial space and kind of adjusting his ideas a bit more, or going, you know what, I'm never going to give up my artistic vision, and so I'm going to spend less money and I might have more indie looking games. Like, I mean, that's going to have to happen, right? There's no way that after Death Stranding, someone's going to walk back up and say, here's another, blank check. Go make your game that's pontificating about, the orbit of Earth representing the menstrual cycle of women that actually is a symbol for, whatever. I just gave away his idea. Shit, I'm sorry. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, do you think his fan base would move with him, I guess? Or do you think he would lose a lot of people if he had to cut off that production value to stay artistic? And what would you rather see him do if he had to choose?
Well, gosh, it's a very, very damn good question. Well, I would say for just the easiest thing to address there, like with any artist in any medium, that eventually the business side of things will come to bear and he will have to compromise his vision to some degree. He was able to get away with that with Death Stranding 1 because he's Hideo effing Kojima.
Right.
But as you pointed out, even though it did well, like it's hard to say whether or not that success will carry over to DS2.
No, I mean, there weren't Sam Bridges action figures under the tree this year. Let's just say that.
Exactly. It's a very hard game.
Except one kid, that one fucking kid Mama, I want the Sam Bridges figure with that has the AMC motorcycle ad behind. Okay, kid. He's like, that kid gets picked on every day. I feel bad for him, Max. Anyway, but yeah, so you're thinking he will have to
inevitably. Like the greatest, some of the people that I just mentioned, like even Ken Levine, he made effing BioShock. Yes. But he has been working. The nature of the video games industry has made it so that the game that he's been working on for the last 10 years has taken him 10 years, Judas. And Hideo Kojima is not immune from that. As for whether or not people will follow him if he were to maybe make things much more low budget, or I don't know, maybe he has to condense his current studio size. I mean, but it's just a question of to what degree. Right. I would think, I would like to hope, because I am a huge Hideo Kojima fanboy, that he will be able to continue to make games and make an artistic statement until the day he dies.
Listen, I'm with you, and I know exactly what you're talking about with the George Lucas thing. There was that producer Rick McCullum, and whenever I watched the behind the scenes of the prequels, he was the most obnoxious yes man I ever saw in my life.
And I'm the first to say, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm the first to say Kojima needs no men around him. Absolutely.
Right. And so what I wonder is, maybe he's heard that, maybe Death Stranding too, because I think he's great. I think he's amazing, but I would love for him, to be great and amazing with a little bit of editing. My last question, I know you got to run, and I appreciate your time in talking about this. The documentary, I reached out to the director. I haven't heard back from him yet. I don't think there's a trailer. Is this something you're interested in, watching this documentary? And if so, what do you hope it goes into that we don't know about Kojima, or what do you hope they ask or reveal or talk about that hasn't been talked about that you're really curious about?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't hear about this until after I tweeted at you when you made this announcement.
Okay.
Ricardo let me know. Ricardo let me know about that this was going on. Well, obviously, I'm interested. I can't wait to see it, and I hope that maybe the people that they have attached to this, people like Del Toro and Nicholas Winding Refn and George Miller, can maybe make Hideo Kojima's genius more understandable and more palatable to a greater number of people. That is a great desire, because I have been amazed, Maxwell, by how much people push back when I try. And I don't know, because somebody in the chat is saying, you've done a deep dive into sort of the metaphor and subtext of Silent Hill and other games. Yeah. Maybe your audience is just conditioned to it, but whenever I talk about those things, I would say 70% of my audience, whether it's here or on Twitter or whatever, they just are like, they automatically go to that, oh, dude, it's just a fucking game. and I'm like, why do you think that's so difficult to get people to kind of get on board with the fact that intentionally and unintentionally, any piece of art, including games, is more than just what you see? Well, I think it's because for the longest time, games have just been marketed as that, and understandably so. It's an escape into a virtual world where you're just there to be entertained. And though thankfully we have people like Kojima to demonstrate that games have that greater artistic capacity, it's ultimately up to us as the consumers to demonstrate to people that, hey, there are people like us out there that would like more artistic games. And thankfully, it seems like we are moving in that direction. We do have, like The Last of Us and Neil and, the success of the TV show. And there seems to be an increasing market for that. But still, most people just want to play games just to shoot people's heads off. And
right. Which I think that's fine, by the way. But to act as if there's no subtext there, I think is just, at this point, it's intentional ignorance, because there's too much proof of the otherwise. Everybody, Max, thank you. I know you got to leave it now. I'm putting Max's channel is massive, so you probably already follow him. But if you don't, it'll be in the notes below, and I will put it right now in the chat. Max, I would love for you to come back on if you have any interest in kind of doing more of a deep dive about metaphor and video games and all that. If you're interested in the future. I would love
absolutely.
It. All right,
absolutely.
Man. Maxwell, thank you so much for hanging out with us and joining us. And have a good rest of your day. Thanks, buddy.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you too, sir. All right, there he goes. Off into the evening. There is Max Durat. In fact, so I could never disagree more, says Serve. Fuck you, motherfucker. motherfucker. Hang on, we'll talk about that. Well, I want to get the chat's take on Max's comments and the Kojima documentary. Let me first just make sure I can get Max's channel in there for you, because you don't want to miss it. There's a lot of really good stuff over there. Like I said, it's a massive fucking YouTube channel, but you probably already follow it. Serve says no, not what you said. No, I know, I'm just fucking with you, man. Okay, how do I give you a link, and then we are going to look at the chat and see what you guys want to talk about. Chat, the link to Max's chat is now, or his YouTube channel is now sitting right there. Ricardo says his interview with Kojima sucked, but it was a bucket list moment to meet him. Why did it suck? What made it suck? Okay, let me move this over here and we'll talk to the chat and then we'll move on. Surf says, I'm saying I could not disagree more with Ebert that said that games aren't art. Yeah, I mean, you know, I remember he said that, and I remember a lot of people came after him. You know, here's the problem with games right now is that the number of people like Kojima and a few others that are actually intentionally putting the stuff in is pretty rare. I think then you have to get into that world where you're willing to look at the floorboards, under the floorboards, to find what the creator is either consciously or unconsciously talking about. You see that book back there, Control Freak? That's Cliff Bleszinski's new book, or his first book. It's a autobiography. It's quite good. It's surprisingly good. I didn't expect him to be this good of a writer and to be this emotional about his history. But I'll tell you something. You know, Cliff, who is known for bang bang shoot shoot games, if you read some of the motivation behind some of his games, I mean, he gets into the fucking weeds. Some of his games, I think it was called Dare to Dream, one of his first games with Epic, was literally, you know, about a kid struggling with his father's death. And he was naming characters after people in his life, and shit was based on his own. I mean, it was an autobiographical video game before anybody even thought about that, right? So I definitely think it's an area that, that to say that games aren't art, I get if you don't play them a lot, and if you don't play them with that eye, just on the surface, you would say that. My guess is Roger Ebert probably has never sat down and played a video game for more than 5 minutes. The more money a game has to make in order to turn a profit, the less merit it has as art, says Afterlife Games. I don't think that statement is accurate. I know what you're saying. The more money a game has to make, the more cooks are in the kitchen, and the more things that aren't palpable to a wider audience get kind of shoved away. But I don't think that means that there is a direct line that you can draw between more money equals less of a statement. I mean, for example, you know, if you look at The Last of Us 2, The Last of Us 2 was, you know, perhaps over, but certainly approaching rapidly $200 million. And to say that that's a game that doesn't reflect, you know, a vision of the world by some key people on that team, I think would not be an accurate statement. But I mean, you know, it's subjective. Your mileage may vary. Not a Crocodile says, unfortunately, many games feel as if they were designed in a boardroom. I don't blame people for saying games aren't art. They are, but I don't blame people for thinking otherwise. I agree. I mean, it go, you know what? It's funny. It goes back to, I was sitting in a round table at GDC ages ago, and the woman who was running it, and who was kind of the guest of the round table, was I think she was one of the heads or the head of the ESRB or whatever. And she was a teacher at one point, and she was talking about how, oh, these games are so violent and all this shit. And I said to her, I said, you know, have you played these games you're talking about? And she said, no, but I've seen them. And I said, you know, watching a game is like watching a movie. You think it's just the surface, but it is amazing. Ralph Koster of many, many great game fames wrote a wonderful book called A Theory of Fun. And in it, he talked about this much better than I ever could, where he said, if you watch Grand Theft Auto, you see somebody getting out of a car, getting a hooker, having sex with a hooker, and then killing her after the sex is done and taking the money back. But if you play Grand Theft Auto, after that kind of silliness wears off, you see it as a power-up. You see it as a play mechanic. You see it as a strategy. And so I think there really is a fascinating mismatch when people watch versus play. And I think even when they play, if you see it as a power-up, is there a way to make you see it more than a power-up? And maybe the answer is yes, but it has to come through gameplay. Oh, fuck yeah. Edith Finch, one of my most favorite games of all time. Favorite fucking games of all time. All right, fellas, we are going to move on from good sir Hideo Kojima. I want to tell you there's a lot happening today. This is a busy industry we like to surround ourselves with. Let's see what's up next, fellas. What's up next on the docket? You know what's up next. Activision and Microsoft are still swinging. Ooh, you guys still play Edith Finch. Maybe I'll make that a game club game pretty soon. I'm sure I could get some of those people on. I hope so. But I want to read that too. JG from Space says it's a generational thing too. Folks who didn't have games growing up always look down on the medium. That will change with time though. I think it's a great point. Okay, so let's talk about the Activision deal. Look, I mean, Microsoft was saying that just because the CMA, which is the Great Britain Commission, shot it down, it's not dead. Certainly it was a hell of a roadblock, and it's still something they probably have to deal with. My understanding is they've just hired the lawyer to the Queen of England, or the ex-Queen of England, the dead Queen of England, whatever. I don't think the new Queen it doesn't matter who's representing Camilla. You don't care. But they have a pretty big fancy pants lawyer who's going to try to sort of deal with the CMA. But it was announced today that the overall European Commission stepped in and said, we're good. The EU Commission found that Activision takeover would not, and there's some interesting takes, and I'm just giving you the news. There's some interesting stuff about this. It's marbled, baby. The EU Commission found that the Activision takeover, this is from MSNBC, or actually CNBC, would not reduce competition in the console market given Sony's dominance with the PlayStation. So that's the first time we've seen any of the European commissions push back and say that this Sony line about woe is us, we're just the little guy and they could fucking kill us if they have Call of Duty. Finally, one of these people is going, wait a minute. If just because Microsoft gets Activision, it's not going to reduce competition given that Sony is so far ahead and has historically been so far ahead. So that's nice to see. It's nice to see somebody push back on that shit. They stated that the PlayStation has a 4-to-1 ratio on Xbox. They're like, look, what are you talking about? Fuck you, Sony. They didn't say that. I added that color. But a lot of the reason the EU was concerned at first, because the EU was kind of on the fence going, I don't think we're going to approve this, was about cloud gaming, right? You've heard this. But there's where it's interesting. I'm going to read this directly from the reporting. This is from a good friend of mine. I don't know how to say their name. Clearly, they're not a good friend, Jeffy. Arjun Karpal. Okay, here's what he says, though. It's pretty interesting. Consumers who have bought, this I don't understand. Consumers who have bought or will buy an Activision game will be able to stream these titles on any cloud platform of their choice. I don't think that makes any sense. Consumers, so you're telling me if I go out and buy a game after Microsoft owns Activision, let's say I buy DLC for Crash Team Rumble, and then I subscribe to Luna, that it automatically knows that I bought it, on Amazon at a digital code or GameStop, and it'll work. I mean, that's pretty cool, but I don't quite know if that's what they're saying, but that's what it reads like. Microsoft will also offer royalty-free licenses to cloud gaming platforms to stream Activision games, again, if a consumer has purchased them. I don't understand this. The idea is that gamers do not necessarily need to stream the game where they buy it. But given that Microsoft and Luna are pretty much trying to motivate people to not buy it, but to rent it, subscribe to it, is this saying that, hey, if you buy Call of Duty from us, Activision/Microsoft, and you get it for your PlayStation 5, then what? Then PlayStation 5, because you own it, they'll have to also put it on PS Plus. I don't know what it's saying, honestly. What I know is it was good enough for the European Commission. Microsoft seems happy. It's a 10-year license for free existing and coming games. This is what the European Union's competition official said. We think this not only solves a problem, but it's pro-competitive. For us, that's a good thing. Here's what Microsoft said. The European Commission has required Microsoft to license popular Activision Blizzard games automatically to competing cloud service games. This will apply globally and will empower millions of consumers worldwide to play these games on any device. Bobby Kotick, aka the Devil, said this. We intend to meaningfully expand our investment and workforce throughout the European Union, and we're excited for the benefits our transaction brings to players in Europe and around the world. Obviously, that makes me wonder. I don't know if it makes you wonder. Did Kotick go over there and say, hey, you know what? Fucking approve this shit, and we will build 10 new studios all over the countries of Europe that you represent, and we guarantee that we will hire this many people. We'll see. The UK has said, the CMA says, yeah, and we don't care, fuck you, we stand by our decision. It's really interesting. Microsoft offered a similar remedy to the UK, according to the report, as it did to the EU. But the UK's response was very different. They said what Microsoft offered, the remedy, was not sufficient. They said Microsoft's proposals, this is the CMA, accepted the European Commission today, but it allows Microsoft to set terms and conditions for this market for the next 10 years. It's kind of not wrong, at least if you read it at face value. So what they're saying is, sure, Sony can have a license-free right to stream Call of Duty if the person bought it, which means we get our money because they bought it and we get X% of every purchase. And on top of it, if you want to play it on Xbox, it's still free if you have Game Pass. So I don't, I don't really understand what these motherfuckers are saying, and part of it is because I'm an idiot. I'm not an economist, right? But I do think, as somebody who knows enough about the game business, to read this, it is a little confusing because I don't know how this manifests as an actual product. Like, what does it mean you can stream it on any cloud service if you bought it? So if I bought it, it's on PlayStation, then I can go to Game Pass without subscribing to Game Pass. And what? I don't understand. The case between the FTC and Microsoft, of course, is still going. A senior commission official said the European Union has exchanged views, European Union, the group that just approved it, with the FTC on several occasions and has had close cooperation regarding it. This is CNBC. They cover finance. I don't know if that's the intention to suggest, but it sounds like they're suggesting that, as goes the EU, there's a relatively decent chance, because they are so simpatico, that the FTC may not be far behind. At which point, the other interesting part about this is if the FTC gets in bed with the EU, all the other countries have agreed to it. If you're Microsoft, you say, Ricardo, if you have a moment, would you mind checking? I would appreciate it. Is there a way to find out the percentage of sales that Activision does in the UK specifically? Because maybe they'll be like, fine, fuck it. We just won't release our shit in Britain. We still got France. We still got the Netherlands. We got all these other places in Europe. We got the rest of the world that's approved it. Fine. You guys go over there and watch the coronation and do your little thing, and we'll be playing Call of Duty. Let me get some of these super chats. I appreciate it. Let's see if we can find out what that percentage sales are, because maybe it's not worth it. They're just like, fuck it. Fuck you. Fint is in. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And the membership, buddy. He says, or she says, I don't know. It's an alien. It's a xenomorph. So what is that? I don't know. I feel bad for are the xenomorphs all women? Are there male xenomorphs? Because usually it's the queen. How do they get pregnant? Let's read the super chat, Jeffy. I feel bad for everyone at Xbox who has to figure out the loopholes to operate in the UK. They'd probably be preferred if the EU killed the deal altogether. I don't know about that. I mean, we're just guessing, you and I, Fenta. We don't know. But my guess on that would be, if Microsoft even says, oh, fuck it, we're just not shipping that shit there. But assuming that they do, then maybe just there, it's business as usual. It's just kind of like, okay, do what you've always done, fellas. Just, but I don't know. Maybe they won't be able to sell anything there. Jaffe, we all know if Microsoft used their bottomless money pit, says Robert George, to make good games, they would dominate. Well, we'll get to that in a second. It's a good point, but we'll get to that in a second. Jay Gamer says FTC is blocking it. As far as I know, they are still going to court to unblock it, but we'll see what it leads to. Jenna Hayes of the Malibu Hazes. My God, your parents are fucking rich as fuck, but they've done good work since the event. Thank you, Jenna. Jenna says, Jaffe, I believe the EU approved the deal because they need to bolster their economy in hopes the deal brings more opportunities. The EU economy is shit right now. Right. Well, that's what I'm wondering if that is giving rise to Bobby Kodak's quote about, I mean, that's kind of, it's not on the nose, but it's close enough to on the nose to be suspicious that they say, that Bobby Kotick said, we're going to meaningfully expand our investment in workforce throughout the EU. Come on now. I mean, let's put it this way. I don't know Bobby Kotick personally. I wouldn't, from what I understand about him in the press, I wouldn't put it past him. And, then you really get into an interesting question, Jenna. What is more important? Is it more important that Xbox doesn't get to have a risk of a lopsided ownership and control of cloud gaming? Or is it more important that thousands upon thousands of people get jobs and good paying jobs and good benefits because they're getting them from Microsoft? I mean, obviously we should always just do the right thing regardless, but that one becomes a little difficult. So who becomes the bad guy there if there even is one? If they went ahead with the deal despite the CMA blocking, Microsoft would have to pull out of the UK. Yeah, I mean, right. They absolutely would not be able to sell their games there. I'm sure people would still buy them and stuff. So this is from Ricardo. He says Activision Blizzard. Okay, so that ain't much. Over 700 million in the UK in 2021. Okay, so I don't know. Alexa, what is 700 million pounds in US dollars? So it's under $1 billion. It's under $1 billion. So Ricardo, what does Activision do in, say, America? Because $1 billion's a lot, but it ain't a lot. You know what I'm saying? Lightman says this deal is absolutely not going to happen. Okay, but usually, like, why? Like, can you be specific as to why? You literally have every country that has looked at this has said yes now, in every group of countries, except America and Great Britain, which doesn't mean they're wrong, but most people seem to think, they're okay with it. Brad Smith, the marketing lead or communication lead at Xbox, he says, didn't Brad Smith threaten the UK on cyber attacks vulnerability? I don't know. That would be really bad. In the most recent fiscal year, Americans netted 4.2 billion. So, I mean, it's 25%, basically. You're willing to give up 25%. I don't know. Papa B. Preachin says, good paying jobs working with Microsoft. Tell that to the folks just laid off by Microsoft. I don't know if SMH is so much hate or shaking my head. It depends on who you're talking to. But sure, I understand. I mean, and maybe what the European Commission has said is like, look, we need a guarantee that you will not do mass layoffs for 15 years in these particular locations. I mean, I'm making this up. I don't know. But right, I'm not saying people won't get the jobs and may not get laid off en masse. What I'm saying is that it wouldn't put it past me. I wouldn't put it past Bobby Kotick in my mind to make that kind of a deal. I mean, I would. Jenna Hayes says, I'm against the deal because Microsoft's track record in terms of quality and commitment. Well, that's kind of when we get into kind of this issue here, right? Which is, and I hate to say this because somebody was asking in the chat, am I for or against the deal? I'm for the deal. And if you're curious why, I've said it ad nauseum, but at the same time, I was on Sacred Symbols Plus, which I don't know, but I think it goes live for everyone this week. I don't know which ones are live for everyone, or I don't know. But I spent a whole 2 hours. It was a wonderful conversation with Colin, talking to Colin Moriarty about why I like this deal. But no, I hope the deal goes through. But I'll tell you something. The fact that, and I know Bethesda has its own bag of hammers they're dealing with, and directly you may not want to place those at the feet of Phil Spencer, but end of the day, you know, how do you ship Redfall in the state you ship Redfall? I don't understand that. So if he's willing to fuck that up, and given that Bobby Kotick, as much as I think he's pure evil, runs a very successful company that makes a lot of gamers happy, and he goes when the deal goes through, I don't want this guy fucking, come on, unless they figure out their fucking issues at Microsoft, because I love the new Call of Duty, and I love some Blizzard games. I'm excited for Diablo, but no, I want this deal to go through, absolutely. And again, if you want to know why, I'll let you know in that Colin thing if it does go public. Otherwise, I'll make my own video about it, which I probably already have. Lightman says, I like Phil Spencer, but he would absolutely ship 6 out of 10 Call of Duty games and be at peace with himself about it if it makes them money. Yeah, but it's only going to make them money if it's good, right? So, or good enough. So if he ships what most people think of as a 6 out of 10 game, they will, as Juan Garcia says, they'll run it into the fucking ground. And they'll give EA a great opportunity to swoop in with whatever they're saying is their new Battlefield and absolutely dominate. So, you know, yeah, Jenna says Bobby and executives don't care if Call of Duty goes down the toilet. He just wants his money. Assuming Bobby's going to leave, you're right. Absolutely. But that's kind of the point. If the deal goes through, Bobby leaves, Phil Spencer has shown absolutely no skill at riding herd over the people who ride herd over creative product development. I think it's a valid worry now. I think Phil has given us a reason to worry about the deal, even if it does go through. Navi, thank you for that very, very generous super chat. I appreciate it, baby. Here's what he says. He says, hey, I just got in. I want to ask you straight up, Jaffe. Starfield looks kind of bad. How wrecked is Microsoft if Starfield is a complete dud? Burger. Who blames Todd Howard and who blames Microsoft Phil? Well, I don't agree with you that it looks kind of bad. I think from what I have heard, which is very little, and we will now know in less than a month. We are less than a month away from the deep dive into Starfield coming up at the Microsoft showcase or after the Microsoft showcase. But I think whenever I hear them talk about it, the ambition and the ideas of the game sound really, really fucking cool. I saw a story today. Now, this is from 4chan, right? So it says, take it with the grain of salt. I saw it on NeoGAF. But 4chan user says id Software working closely with Bethesda to overhaul Starfield combat since last August. Is it true? I don't fucking know. But if it is true, that's exactly the kind of shit that needs to be happening at Microsoft, because I don't know if the combat's going to be good. I don't know if any of it's going to be good, but I don't look at it and go, oh, it looks bad. I think right now we just don't know anything. My understanding is the media hasn't even gotten a preview yet, which, how good of a sign is that? Think about this. If the media had no problem opening the kimono to Game Informer and all these other people to show Redfall 3 months ago, we still haven't seen shit. It's not like you got like a IGN's like, we spent 3 hours with, Starfield. Here's what we think. None of that shit. But I appreciate the super chat. I don't agree with your take on Starfield, but the question is, if it shits the bed, who blames Todd Howard and who blames Phil? I blame them all. The difference is Todd Howard has a history of, yes, I know, I get it. He kind of is in a relative leadership position. Like, I don't know if you could look at Todd Howard and say he bears any responsibility for Redfall. But, the company he keeps certainly seems to be building a very damning reputation for shipping stuff before they need to ship the stuff. But Todd still, though, certifiably has a history of doing really cool stuff for the industry. Phil Spencer, short of the Game Pass executive work he does, which I think is brilliant, I think this would be worse for Microsoft and worse for Phil. Because it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, you know how important this was. If Phil Spencer isn't getting id Software to work closely with Bethesda, then Phil's a goddamn moron, or he is an agent, a secret agent for Sony trying to destroy Microsoft from within. Because at this point, why would you not? Why would you not put all your fucking not all, but a lot of your fucking resources towards making this fucking classic? I don't fucking know. Does Phil go if Starfield is mediocre? Phil should not go at all. But Phil should absolutely have his boss come in and go, we're going to help. We're getting you help, Phil. You can't fucking do this. We're having an intervention. I know you think you can do it, but we're tired of hearing it. We're going to help you out, buddy. That's what they should do. That's what they should do. All right. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. Okay. I want to talk about this. Let me get some of the chat first. I don't want to leave some of these good comments on the table. Sony should announce, says Lightman, U.S. Army FPS 2K26. Everyone would move on from Call of Duty. By the time the deal closes, plenty of time for Sony to try a first-party answer. End of the day, Lightman, this deal that the European Union has said they'll allow to go through, it isn't forever. It still is only 10 years where they have to offer a license-free cloud-based solution to their games, which means that, yeah, again, if Sony's not working on this, like they have to be. They have to be getting into the bread and butter titles. They just have to be. But Jim Ryan, as much as I think he's, I have some issues with him, but he's a very smart, clearly very effective executive. I don't think he's walking around going, nope, we're not going to do any bread and butter titles that hit the mainstream. We just always want to do the arty-farty shit. I don't think he's thinking that. I could be wrong, but he's never really given us any kind of indication that he's a dumb guy. Da Vinci's Demon says dope is better than Redfall. I guess it depends on what kind of dope. DMT, sure. How much, says Radical Desi, of a massive undertaking would the reported combat overhaul in the game of Starfield be? I want them to take their time. It depends on what it is, right? If it's just, you know what, guys, we're really struggling with sticky aiming. You guys do it so great where, it feels like the player with the controller is doing most of the work, and it's very hard to tell unless you're really looking for it that there's aim assist. We don't know how to do that. Help us with that, right? Or the impact of the bullets just don't feel good. It doesn't feel strong enough. Oh, we made Doom Eternal. Here's like these 8 things that we did, including this proprietary piece of tech we did for, how to show blood leaving the enemy that usually would be obscured by the body, but you don't want it to be obscured by the body because you want the payoff for blood. How do you, all kinds of things from just like, it needs an entire overhaul, right? So until you know what it is that's not working, it's very difficult to know, it's kind of like any job, right? You bring somebody out to your house, you call them on the phone, yeah, my pipes are leaking. How much will it cost? Like, lady, I don't know until you get there. I don't know why she's the lady calling and he's a plumber, but, shut up. Shut up. Oh, you're growing your own dope. You're growing Ghost Train. I like Ghost Train very, very much. Vexel, I don't agree with you. If Insomniac announces a new Resistance, I'd be happy. I think that would be great. But, I think they should find something, again, more bread and butter. Listen to this. Now, Frosty in our Discord, been with us forever. We all love Frosty over there, thinks this is horseshit. But I'm going to tell you the story because we know there has been a leak coming about the Smash Bros. Killer for a while. We saw it in March. And I think there was a leak sometime between March and now. And people are like, we don't know if that's real. There's nothing special about that. But today, we had a couple of very real journalists tweet it. It was actually written up in insidergaming.com. The breaker of this was Grant Taylor Hill. Now, some of these leaks are coming from Reddit. And so, yes, please take all of this with a grain of salt, okay? But the fact that Disney has just launched, which is an exceptional game, they've got a terrible business model. Disney, what's it called? Speed Force or whatever the fuck it's called. It's an excellent fucking game, which is pretty much going after Mario Kart. The idea that now they're going, hey, let's do it with Smash Bros. So here's the rumor if you haven't heard it. Disney Domination is the word. I don't think that's the final title, but that is the working title. I don't think Disney's going to release something called Disney Domination. In March, this is from Grant Taylor Hill, Insider Gaming. In March, imagery surfaced revealing shots of what was allegedly Disney Domination. Smash Bros. Killer. Here were the characters we saw back then. Thanos, Mickey Mouse, Peter Griffin, Spider-Man, and Woody. That's interesting. I guess because they own Spider-Man except for movies. Okay, so that would make sense. Now there's another leak, right? So the good news about this is right now, if you look at the Disney racing game, it's not just like Mickey Mouse. It's Mickey Mouse and characters from live action movies from Disney like Pirates and Pixar, and new animations like Mulan. I'm hoping they bring Marvel. I'm hoping they bring Star Wars. But this is saying they're going to launch with 55 characters at launch. There'll be a single player campaign, 60 stages, so many online modes, including, listen to this one, a 12 player online battle mode. That sounds delightful. You'll be able to make your own custom stages, and the art style, which kind of sort of makes sense. They leaked some pictures. You can see them on your screen. I know you're saying, well, this doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would this be Disney? Well, again, if you look at Disney Speedstorm is what it's called. If you look at Disney Speedstorm, it's the same thing. They don't look like Mickey Mouse looks like Mickey Mouse, but a lot of the characters and all of the world is done much more realistically. And they're saying that's the style for this as well. So, we'll fucking see. There's Woody, there's Donald Duck. This is apparently, the rumor is that they are it's being developed by Square Enix, which makes sense given their relationship with the goddamn Kingdom Hearts. But I see Grape King says so fake. Here's my question, Grape King. Is it fake? Maybe, but what evidence do you have that it's fake? And here's the other thing I'll tell you about it. If it is fake, it shouldn't be. Because it's a great fucking idea. I know a lot of people look at multiverses and says, well, why doesn't multiverses work? So, I mean, I don't know. What I can tell you is I stopped playing it relatively quickly. My understanding from the people who played it and loved it, because it got great reviews. There were people that were saying it was a competitor in terms of nuance of fighting game elements with Smash Bros. Like fighting people were saying this. Grape King, I'll address that in a second. But my understanding is people who were playing it were saying that the problem with it is they weren't launching enough content for a free-to-play game, for a service-based game. And so people kind of just peeled off. I don't know if that's the reason why, but multiverses, let's put it this way. Multiverses to Warner Brothers is still such a compelling idea that instead of killing it, right? Like that, I don't know what it was called, the Vampire Masquerade Blood game that was like a battle royale in New Orleans. I played it on stream. It was actually pretty good, but I played it once and never went back to it. That's dead now. They announced today it'll still stay up, but there's no more content coming. A year and it's dead. Multiverses was so unsuccessful in the long term that you'd think they would have done that. But Warner Brothers clearly feels that there's enough here that instead of killing it, they pulled it and said, we'll see you in 2024. We're going to spend, the next 12 to 18 months making this better. And maybe what that means is they realized where they failed, which was maybe it was the lack of content, drop frequency, and that's what they're building. They're just building so they can get ahead of it. I don't know. So the fact that the concept of taking your stable of beloved characters and putting them in these classic game genres that Nintendo has made billions off of, I think that's a no-brainer. So whether or not this is or isn't fake, or if it is fake, Disney would be morons not to explore it. As for this, though, about Peter Griffin, somebody was saying, well, why would you... Grape King says, you think Disney cares about Peter Griffin, especially for a kid's game. I don't think this is a kid's game. And if this is real, okay, there's two issues. If it's not real and somebody was trying to fake it, why would they put such a weird thing in there, like referencing Peter Griffin? But the other thing is, if they are putting this in, maybe what they are communicating is what people are saying is they're taking the whole stable. They're launching with 55 characters that Disney owns, and that includes Family Guy, right? Because Family Guy, I think, is Fox. But we'll see. I don't think is a cab. That's different. I'll answer that. I mean, I know that's not Peter Griffin, but the text underneath it mentions Peter Griffin. And I agree with Blue Gamer. I doubt they would only target kids, also, especially getting Square involved. Serve says, I have an honest question. Do you think we have too many games? Why are there so many games that people just keep moving on to the next game? Well, I didn't really get to this, but there was an interview I was going to talk about with Game Pass, but the Trine 5 development team was talking about Game Pass, but I think it applies to your question anyway, whether it's Game Pass or free to play or $70 games or whatever. Here's what they said about Game Pass, and this is just one developer's opinion. Game Pass, of course, is interesting to reach more gamers at scale. On the flip side of the coin, we believe it also contributes to the oversaturation of content in the gaming space, and it can be hard to commit and enjoy games as there's such an abundance of choice. So my answer is no, there are not too many games in the same way that there's not too many things to watch on YouTube. But what is happening, which I think is wonderful, is games certainly at AA and certainly at indie are getting a lot easier for people to make without needing to go through gatekeepers. And people, certainly the younger generation, is showing no allegiance for production value over fun or socializing in a game with their friends or whatever. And in that, I think we're going to see a correction where I think the answer to your question is we have too many games that are following the traditional model of a publisher gets like $80 million and funds it and puts it out into the world. I think we'll always have that, just like we'll always have big tentpole movies. But I think you are going to see more and more games become successful that are much less of that ilk in terms of production value, because people can make shit. I mean, look at Flappy Bird. Flappy Bird was stupid. It was dumb, but it was a fun meme and people loved it for 3 days and it made the guy over $1 million, right? I mean, that's the world games is rapidly entering. When I was in games, you could not make your own game unless you were just a bedroom programmer and you were fucking whip smart. That's gone. That's fucking gone. So I think the answer is yes, but we have too many games funded and distributed the way they're used to. But I think we are heading to almost a YouTube system where we have a lot of games that are like that and a lot of niche hits. And then we're still going to have the big stuff, but it's probably not going to be as much. But think about this. Everybody's talking about Zelda right now. I want you to think about this. I was thinking about this today. So I bought Star Wars. I've installed Star Wars. I hear it's fucking great. I was still busy finishing up Resident Evil 4. I was about to start Star Wars and Zelda dropped. I mean, imagine only having 2 weeks on the market, unless you don't have a Switch, to plant your flag and get most of your fucking sales, because suddenly here comes Zelda. And you weren't some tiny little fucking game. It's not like you were the Bramble adventure game that I hear is wonderful that I haven't played that came out around the same time as Star Wars or Zelda. You are one of the contenders, a lot of people say, for Game of the Year in Jedi Survivor. And you're kind of sort of already forgotten. Like, Zelda has come in and sucked all the oxygen out of the air. So, I mean, if Star Wars can only stand for 2 weeks before it gets taken off the map of things people really are discussing in the gaming sphere, you know, there's something's going to give, and I don't fucking know what it is. Referable Snell X says Jedi Survivor is my game of the year so far. Nobody wants a bunch. DHC, shut up. I'm going to read your comment and then I'm going to explain why I'm telling you to shut up. DHC says nobody wants a bunch of digital games to stream that you don't really own. Fuck you. You're just wrong. And the reason your comment pisses me off is I see so many people use that language and it's so obnoxious. If you were to say Jaffe, or even, hey, fuckface, whatever you want to call me, if it's not too disrespectful, I'll respond to it. I don't want a bunch of digital games. I want to own my shit. I'd say, cool, I respect that. But don't speak for the fuck. You're not the Lorax. Don't fucking claim to speak for everybody. The fact of the matter is, if you were right, Spotify would not be a thing. Netflix would not be a thing. Game Pass would not be a thing. Most people don't give a shit about owning games. Are there people that adore it and love it? You goddamn right there are. And good hats off to them. But don't fucking speak for everybody else. You don't fucking know that. You don't have the stats to back that up. I haven't bought a game since Shadowgate in years. Nothing is worth being a PS5 game. Well, I mean, again, if you take a look, what if he is Lorex? That's true. That's true. But then I have to speak to him in rhyme. But what I'll say though is, I've heard a lot of people. JG from Space says I buy almost exclusively digital. I'm done with physical. I've heard a lot of people say that. And the other thing I'll say on that is I know this sounds at a 30,000 foot view lazy and stupid, but in the day-to-day there is valid research and also tons of anecdotal research in your own life, I would imagine, to suggest behavior of consumption of entertainment or anything, but let's just take entertainment, is meaningfully impacted by low barrier of entry and ease of use, right? Until the remote control came along, the lead-in programs to the hits or the programs that followed the TV shows after the hits would get more viewers, because for some people, it was just a pain in the ass to get up and change the channel. That was enough to keep them watching a B-rate sitcom after All in the Family or something, right? The fact that you can sit on your PS5 or Xbox or whatever and just jump cut to another game. Xbox is faster, of course, but they're still both really quick. Don't underestimate people without even really realizing it, how valuable that is to a lot of people. Jaffe, what platform did I buy Jedi on? I got it on PS5 digital. It's hard to pull off, says Gravity, what Elden Ring pulled off last year. The game broke the Soul genre into mainstream. It's all anyone played for months. Yeah, that one's going to be real interesting, man, to see how their follow-up does. I don't mean Armored Core, but their next Souls-like game or a direct Elden Ring sequel, because I think a lot of people bought that game based on the hype and were like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, Controller Sports says, I still buy physical throwback games that aren't digital. A lot of people do. And I think there's nothing in the goddamn cock-a-doodle world that's bad about that. I think that's great. But I wish the people who did that really got up in my face about it would understand that they're the minority. They're the minority. Hello, Master Luke. My pretty face is fucking pretty good. Again, don't forget, if you want to call in on the Discord, talk to me about these very topics. Ricardo is waiting in the waiting room. He'll make sure you're not going to call and fart in my face. That might be fun some days. Not really. Oh my God, I saw this picture on Twitter, and it was a meme, and I don't know what it was memeing, but it was a guy who was wearing a gas mask, and then he had the hose of the gas mask that went to some kind of flat, malleable thing on his girlfriend or some naked woman's butt. And the hose went into that, and that kind of clearly was sort of vacuum sealed around her butthole. And I guess it's like a thing where she farts and the guy inhales it, and it's a direct line to the fucking vein of the fart. It's not like you smell it in the room. I don't know how we got onto that, but I did see that picture. How did I get onto that? Let me see. I said Ricardo is waiting in the waiting room, and then that went to my mind. I don't know why. Okay, what was the reason? I got to go back and find out why that jumped into my brain pan. Tara says, "What the fuck is happening, sir? This is called ADD, my bud." Okay, let's move on. Hang on. Oh my God! I got to tell you, I'm so excited. Oh no, Alex Stein, no. Alex Stein, I know a guy named Alex Stein worked on God of War with me. Alex S says, Jaffe, do you still watch VR cam girls? No, I don't watch cam girls on a regular basis, but I wanted to try that after my ex-boss told me about it. And I was blown away, but I was more unnerved by it because it felt like she was right there. And I was just like, this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. Okay. I am so excited for this. This is coming up. Listen to this. IGN is in bed with Feardemic. Feardemic's 2-day event will be on September 6th. I wish it was closer. And it's available to watch live exclusively on IGN. Of course, we will be streaming the fuck out of this 2-day event. Listen to this. The first day, it's all about horror games. It's all about horror games. The coverage kicks off with Black Summer 2023. Granted, we're into the fall, but whatever, float your boat. Coverage kicks off with Black Summer 2023. I'm so there. A spooky 3-hour showcase of 2023 and 2024's most anticipated horror games with world premiere trailers, developer interviews, special guest appearances, and content creator reactions. Oh my God. Pure horror. It's like E3 meets horror. How can you not be in love? Then listen to this. We'll stream this too. The next night, September 7th, the Horror Game Awards take place. The Horror Game Awards, that's a brand new thing as far as I know. At the same time, we'll celebrate the best horror games last year and the developers who make them. The event will be broadcast live from the most haunted theater in Krakow, with some of the most famous names in horror awarding Golden Bat trophies for the winners. Voting for the Horror Game Awards will be open later this year, with the gaming community able to choose between nominees across 15 different categories. Come on, man. What a great event. What a great goddamn cockadoodie event. So that's coming up. Keep your ears to the ground. Listen to this. Listen to this. This was not on my radar. It comes out for free, quote, free, on PS Plus Premium or one of those fucking things. I don't know what tier, but it's the PS one. Humanity. There's a demo right now for Humanity. You should play it. It drops in 7 hours. It's sitting at an 84 on Metacritic. I was like, whatever. This is like some Lemmings fucking game or whatever. And the people who are playing it and reviewing it are saying it's really good. Listen to what IGN says. Humanity is a beautiful modern reimagining of Lemmings and feels as esoteric and artsy as Enhance's previous games, while ambitiously stepping onto new terrain for action puzzle genre with the pitter-patter of countless little feet. People love it. People love it. Gamer 60 on Gamer no. But so this was not on my radar. It's on my radar now. Sad League says it's dope. Like I said, there is a demo. It's the game will ship on PC and PS4 and PC and PS5. The demo right now I know is on PS5. I know it's not on PC. I don't know about PS4. So hey, suddenly I'm paying attention. Interesting. Blue Gamer, thank you for being a member or a supporter for 17 months. I appreciate that very much. Sir, he says, hey, you see the motion picture show Evil Dead Rise? I have not, but I want to. It was cool, but I prefer the Bruce Campbell stuff. I've only seen the first Evil Dead. I was high as a kite, but I enjoyed it very much. I need to see the other ones, and this one I hear is really, really good. But yeah, it's a different movie. It's still Evil Dead, the universe, but I hear it's a very different experience. But I do hear it's great. Ricardo, you don't need to be super chatting me. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, if you did a horror game, supernatural slasher, if I were to do a horror game at this point, I would want to do either a ghost story or some kind of alien visitation story. I'm not really interested in AI that chases you around. And I'm not interested. I like jump scares, but I wouldn't want to just do jump scares. I would want to, and I don't even know if I could do it. It's much easier said than done, but I would want to try to make a horror game that's very unnerving and disturbing and makes you just feel creeped out versus like, oh my God, I'm scared. That to me would be a bigger success. So we'll see. I did see that. Yes, Mutant Mo, the original voice actor for Crash Bandicoot died. Very, very sad. Although then I was just like, did he have a voice? I don't mean the guy with the megaphone in the commercials, but the game he had a voice? Or was it just kind of grunts and shit? Ricardo, do I want to take this call right now or not now? Because we're about to jump to Zelda. You guys want to talk a little bit about Zelda? There's news in the hills of Zelda. Let me see what Ricardo says, though. I'll give him 10 seconds. Everybody give 10 seconds to Ricardo while I drink this drink. Hang on. He ain't saying nothing. Listen, JG from Space says, I've been waiting for a good alien horror game like Signs. There is a great demo, and I don't know what it's called on Steam. It might be called like We Are Not Alone or something, and it's very short, but it's very, very good. Very, very good. Why are you guys making all the sad faces? Oh, because the actor died, right? Hello, Spazbo, you son of a bitch. Okay, listen to me. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. Isn't that awful for me to say? I'll just tell you what he says. If he hangs out to the very end of the show, I'll answer a few Ragnarok questions, but I don't want to interrupt the flow of news, talk about Ragnarok. But if he does want to wait, I'll be more than happy to talk to him at the end of the show. I agree, Awesome Tatum. Madison is a good horror game. I'm hoping very much that I can get some of the developers on and make that one of our next couple of Gabbin Game Club games, because it's a great fucking horror game. That and Mortuary's Assistant. Okay. First, let's get the obvious out of the way. The Legend of Zelda, in terms of sales, is a goddamn beast. We don't have any figures yet from America, but as per usual, we get a lot of stuff in from the UK moments after the goddamn thing launches. This is coming from Game Industry Biz, but you can find this everywhere. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, biggest box video game launch of the year in the UK. It's Nintendo's second biggest release in UK history by revenue, behind Wii Fit. But if you discount the balance board price that raised the cost of Wii Fit, it is Nintendo's biggest ever release by revenue. Okay? It is the #1 Zelda game selling ever. It's above Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. And then in America as well, wait, no, that's the UK week 1 sales. Sorry. In their all-time sales, Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, Ocarina. I'm so bothered that none of the 2D Zeldas, which I think are the best fucking Zeldas, are on this list. But it is what it is. Times change. Hell, #4 is Link's crossbow training. So that'll tell you why certain things sell what they do. But anyway, it's selling gangbusters there. Selling gangbusters in France. It reportedly topped the launch of FIFA 2023 in France, which was last year's best-selling game. Here's a little comparison for you with the French folks. By way of comparison, FIFA 23 is the best-selling video game last year in France with 1.7 million units total. It sold 420,000 copies across all the systems. This is a Switch exclusive, sold 500,000 copies on one system. So this fucking thing is selling like the proverbial hotcakes, okay? To the point, and this is no surprise, they talked to the producer, the director. They're like, hey, you guys want to make a Mario kind of movie now that you're making money from Mario? And this is what he says. Anuma, who I think is the director, producer, I don't remember, I'm sorry. He says, I have to say I'm interested, for sure. Yeah, no shit. No shit you're interested. But I would say that if they made a Zelda movie, and I was there at the very beginning. A lot of people, I did a tweet this weekend where I called Link Zelda on purpose, just because I like all the people who think they can kind of hit me with a gotcha. I'm like, people. I was literally there at Circus World in 86, 85, after watching the fucking dude run around the dungeon going, Zelda, Zelda, Zelda. And I bought it day one and I had the gold cartridge. So go fuck yourself. I'm very aware of the goddamn lore. And I'm very aware that Link is the girl, okay? So listen. Question is, animated or live action? I mean, here's the tricky part. I think. I mean, they'll figure it out. They'll make a ton of money. They'll figure it out. But, you know, I didn't think Mario was a great movie. I thought it was a great Mario movie, which is all it needed to be. But it wasn't a great story. Zelda's kind of in a similar box in that it's very tropey. It's based off other movies and other fairy tales and things. And so other than sort of the fanboy value of, oh, look, there's the Triforce. Oh, look, there's, you know, whatever, Tinky Winky or whatever that dude's called. You know, it's not like, oh my God, the story of Ganon and Link and Zelda is so rich that you could basically write 20 movies and still be barely scratching the surface. So, I mean, you know, there's that. But I don't know. I would love to see an animated movie more than live action. Not because I would love to see live action, but we've seen so many live action fantasy movies. And we've seen so many live action sword and sorcery TV shows, like the latest Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or whatever, that I kind of feel like it needs to have a bit of a unique look. If it's just like a beautiful fantasy movie and it's not telling a story that is all that unique, I guess I would wonder, would it be great? But I mean, you could have said the same thing about Mario. Man Cave, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, how's a movie with no voice acting going to work? Well, Zelda, the new Zelda and the last Zelda has voice acting. Link doesn't speak, but Mario barely speaks. So they'll make him talk, of course. Do you think the writer's strike will impact the release of the Twisted Metal show? No, because it's already done. It's already in post. But it may impact, or it's certainly going to impact the second season. But given that I don't believe they've greenlit a second season, there's probably no writing going on anyway. A Zelda film, Adam says, that's anime would be awesome. But let's be honest, it will be CG. Could be. Jaffe, any hope for a Zelda movie after Mario? Well, that's what we're talking about. I mean, sure. Like I said, I mean, I think it's going to happen. I think if you're Nintendo at this point, you're under the impression, which I don't think is the correct impression, that every product they have is going to be Mario. Zelda might. I mean, Zelda's never been as successful as Mario. And Metroid is way less successful than Zelda. So short of continuing to squeeze the Mario Donkey Kong sponge, I think you end up in a place of diminishing returns unless the movies stand on their own outside of being love letters to the fan base, because the fan base of Zelda is meaningfully smaller. But I also think the potential for a story, if somebody comes in and writes a great story that, it's irrelevant if you've seen the movie or that played the games, I think it has the potential to make a lot more money, as does Metroid. They'll have Zelda play the lead. Zelda's always the lead. Because he's got I think because it'll probably be woke, which I like woke, is he going to have to save, does Zelda have to save the girl this time? Or does the girl have to save Zelda? I mean, it goes so deep here on Gabbin and Games. You won't know who to trust. You won't know what's real. Let's move on. Like Sector says, Zelda is the princess. The guy is Link. I know. But thank you for that. Okay. I want to dive deep into Zelda. Not deep, but I want to talk about something that got me in trouble this weekend. But first, I have to show you this. Because one of the most annoying things about Zelda right now is everybody going, look, this guy built this, and this guy built this, and he made this happen. And I'm like, shut up, Kotaku. They've got content for the next 5 years. This guy built a fucking, dildo. Like, what? Fuck you. But this one, this was pretty fucking cool. I know it's not on the screen yet. Hang on. If you don't know, Zelda is kind of taking a lot of Kerbal Space Program and a little Minecraft and whatnot, and letting you have this adventure while you have all this freedom. Okay, if you don't know, you don't. But look what this motherfucker built. Did my stream just crash? Did that just crash my stream? I think it did. Camera crashed. Let me see. I figured out why my computer's crashing a lot, though. By the way, and I'm gonna have it fixed very soon. I'm buying a new computer, but just for this week, I'm getting a bunch more RAM. My RAM's too low. Okay, you can only hear me. Okay, hang on. Don't worry. All right, so everybody hit refresh. Is everybody back? Everybody's back. Okay. So, all right. Okay, look what this motherfucker built in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's only like a minute video, then we'll talk about it and I'll get to the big meat of the story. Here we go. Come on. I mean, that ascend is amazing. I have not yet found the ability to control rotation yet. I haven't found that item. He has built that. And then he's if you're watching and listening and not watching, he has built a giant mech that works. and he is just running into the enemy bases and just decimating them with fireballs and flamethrowers. And it works. It fucking works, man. Now, Ricardo, I'm going to have Ricardo. Ricardo, do you have a moment to jump on the mic real quick? Because Ricardo had a very good point. I am playing this game, and I am enjoying the shit out of it, much more than Breath of the Wild. But Ryan Landys, you're right. Jaffe makes fun of the look. This guy built this, and then he goes right into look. This guy built this, right? Because most of it is like shit. Most of it's shit. But when you get something like this, okay, then you can toot your fucking horn, okay? But here's what Ricardo. Okay, I'm going to bring Ricardo in real quick because I'm enjoying it. I like it more than Breath of the Wild, but you know, I'm still very early. Like I've done a couple of shrines on the ground of Hyrule Field after the Sky Island, so I'm very, very fucking early, right? So I don't know if I'm going to keep loving it, but so far I'm loving it. Ricardo, I think, is liking it, but hang on. Ricardo, can you tell the fine people what you told me earlier about why you feel this Zelda is not as good as Breath of the Wild regarding immersion? I just hadn't thought about this, and it's a great point.
Hey everyone, yeah, sure.
Let me make sure they can.
So basically, I'm loving Tears of the Kingdom, but so far I kinda preferred the Breath of the Wild, mostly due for what many people think it's the best attribute of Tears of the Kingdom, which is the ability to build all this stuff and to fuse weapons and all of that. So basically that's cool mechanics on their own, but they are really breaking my immersion in the game. When I play the Zelda, I want to be in like the hero that goes in an adventure to save the kingdom, to save the princess, and all this stuff just really breaks that immersion for me.
Because you're saying that you can basically, as Link, you're seeing a puzzle and you can just build stuff that is just dumb looking, basically, right? Like if you want to get across a gap, like you can mix a tree with a wheel and as long as it hangs together, it works. That doesn't feel very grand fantasy to you, right?
No, or having like two swords stuck together. Or a sword with a massive boulder.
Rock. Yeah, it's very goofy. It's very cool, but I do think I had not thought about that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point. In the chat, Degalmzera says, if you don't want to build things, just don't do it. Yeah, but you pretty much have to.
It's kind of what I'm doing, honestly. I'm trying to play somewhat traditionally, except when I have to be a bit more inventive with stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of limiting myself in terms of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're it's
if something looks crappy, I don't use it. Basically.
Really? Oh my god. Yeah, I'm just like, fuck it. There's the solve. But I mean, again, I don't play it. I love the fantasy that you're saying you get. I wish I got that sense of immersion in a game like this. But you know, the 3D Zeldas have never really made me feel like that. Although I do feel on this one, for some reason, more than Breath of the Wild, that I'm going on more of an adventure, which kind of leads me to this. NeoGav has something up that I've seen a lot of people on the net talk about. They have a thread that says, why am I seeing so many people saying they are liking Tears of the Kingdom, even though they did not like Breath of the Wild? I mean, I'll give you my theory, Ricardo, share yours if you have one, but my only thing I can think is, because I'm one of those people, I did not really care for Breath of the Wild, is that the building so far, and it may wear off. Well, there's two reasons. The game opens and you will spend anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours it doesn't feel like a tutorial, but in the sky section where you're getting a bunch of abilities and whatnot. And there are enemies to fight, but it's mostly getting powers. And so there's a lot of new stuff thrown at you, which is compelling. And then there's very little combat. When you land on Hyrule Field, and I will say I'm not enjoying it as much as being in the sky, combat becomes a lot more prevalent. And I think the combat is the weakest part of the 3D Zeldas. Certainly, you know, you could live with it in Ocarina because they didn't have many enemies on screen. But when you're dealing with a giant enemy and some archers in the background and 4 or 5 little minions, it's not really built, in my opinion, for that.
Excluding the building mechs and all that crazy stuff and having dildos turn around in the air like some people have done to
Right.
kill bosses.
Right.
If you look at the core combat of blocking, dodging, attacking, etc., that's as basic as it gets.
Well, it's as
Essentially.
basic as it gets, and they haven't, in my opinion, done a lot of work to make it scale with more enemies. So it just kind of feels like a big scrum compared to something like, again, I don't think every game needs to be Elden Ring, but even compared to something like Evil West, where you're able to track what all the AI is doing.
Yeah.
These guys just kind of feel like they swarm you and just kind of hope that you figure out a way around it.
Very sluggish, very
right. So
yeah,
I would say maybe that's one of the reasons that Tears of the Kingdom doesn't open with that. You kind of have to get to it later. And so maybe people haven't gotten to it yet when they say, I love Tears of the Kingdom more. But I think also those building abilities are really fresh. And I might already be at wit's end with them. Like I'm tired of building stuff. It's fun and it's novel. But now I'm like, oh, I just want to go on the adventure. And it's just like it's like, help me get to my friend. And it's like, okay, let me fucking build a car and put the wheels and stick the wheel on. And it's like, fuck you. Although I do think you can save them. Maybe I haven't gotten to the thing where I can save my creations. Then I'm sure that will help.
I think there's an option for that later on. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love it. But would you say those are the main reasons people like it more than Breath, or do you think there's something else going on?
Yeah, basically, if someone didn't enjoy Breath of the Wild and they are loving this one, it's because they are loving the building mechanics. They are loving messing around with stuff and build crazy stuff. But that's not the Zelda part. That's Minecraft. That's Lego.
I mean, but they have to change, right? If you don't change your franchise, people say that's the funny part about Nintendo. Nintendo, for better or worse, always gets dinged with they keep making the same game, and they don't. They keep using the same intellectual property.
Oh yeah.
But this Zelda is insanely different from, Ocarina or Majora's or Wind Waker. Certainly
even Breath of the Wild. In many regards.
I can see that as well. So, all right, I'm going to get back to the chat. Ricardo, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
So anybody else in the chat have a different reason, a different logic for why people are saying that they like this but not Breath? Interesting. So Adam says, Jaffe, you should push on to one of the 4 main missions. They are incredible. I think I am going to do that because one of the things I do in games like this is I just get obsessed with finding everything and let me explore everything. And that's one of the reasons I rarely finish open world games. I didn't finish Tsushima, which is one of my favorite games, because I would not leave the first part of the island until I had totally done everything. And by the time I got to the second part of the island, or the second, whatever it is on the map, I was burnt out. Same with Spider-Man. So I will be playing it for 2 more weeks, but I think I will take your advice, Adam, and spend more time just trying to go through the main story and see how I enjoy it. But I'm digging it now. I'm digging it. It's good so far. Fenta says this game's triggering my OCD. I totally get that. Completionist, yeah, absolutely. Okay, listen to this. So I'm annoyed by this. So I'm playing it this weekend a bunch. I'm streaming it this weekend a bunch. And I'm complaining about the controls, okay? And not the way the character moves, but just the fucking oversaturation of mechanics that are all tied to a very limited number of buttons. And it is a very difficult game to retrain muscle memory on, given it is so unique and there's so much to do. And so I had people yell at me. Well, I first had people on our stream just say, hey, Jaffe, get the Pro Controller. It's not going to change the number of buttons, but the buttons and the layout make what you're complaining about at least a little more tolerable. I'm like, all right, that sucks that I need to do that because the game came with a controller, and if that controller is not acceptable, then that's a fucking problem. Then I got this guy who's been part of the chat on and off, Bread or Decide. He's a guy who calls himself Bread or Decide on YouTube. He says, dude is well off, meaning me, and still bitching about the Switch Pro controller. Jesus. It doesn't matter if I'm the richest motherfucker in the universe or I'm as poor as dirt. The fact that you are defending a company for shipping with a substandard controller and saying that the onus is on the consumer to buy a controller that's actually acceptable for the fucking $400 piece of hardware they sold. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy a Pro controller. I will, because the game is that good. But don't put that shit on me. And Bread or Decide is not the only one. It's like people have just, gamers, I've said this before on a lot of things. This is one of them about the similar thing. Gamers are some of the most fucking bend over and take it fan base, as passionate as they are. They will take it all goddamn day long. Sports, I mean, look at sports fans. Sports fans, when their team is losing and losing at a relatively, frequent clip, as much as you may love your team, you're still like, fire that motherfucking coach or get rid of that fucking quarterback. He's a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Boy, these fans, they'll be more than happy for the onus to fall upon them, that it's their fault that they hadn't gone out and spent more money to buy something that Nintendo didn't ship with the goddamn fucking product. Come on now. Insane. And I agree. Azol says, every time I have to run into a fight in Tears of the Kingdom, I start pressing all the wrong buttons. Try making a fucking machine for 20 minutes and throwing it off a fucking cliff. I literally made the coolest fucking boat in the world. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to carry it down to the... No, I'm not, because it just went off the goddamn mountain. So, and you could say, well, you could rewind time, but I don't think you can rewind time unless you can see what you're affecting. It had already fallen out of my worldview. Radical says, the main issue I have with Nintendo designing Joy-Cons is it's not ergonomically good. No, they're terrible. It drifts and fails often. It's planned obsolescence. Why didn't they just include the Pro? I'm sure it was money and they didn't need to. But the reason they didn't need to is because Nintendo fans, they knew most people would just accept it. And I'm like, what? That's acceptable to you? Clearly, Bread or Decide seems to be okay with it because he says, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. Bullshit on the sports fans, LOL, says Bukaki. Eliminated Edmonton last night, and I saw more than one comment about how they hope Vegas has another Mads. Oh my God, shooting sports, Jesus Christ. I'm not saying the fans don't suck. I'm just saying that they will call their teams out. I don't see a lot of video game people calling out the teams. They don't call out Sony if they're a Sony fan. It's really weird. All right. I also got pushback from this. And I don't bring this up because, hey, it's all about me, but this is literally, last I checked, was an 8-page thread. Let me see if it's gone up. This is still an 8-page thread on NeoGAF. David Jaffe sets Twitter on fire after calling Zelda Tears of the Kingdom bland and old looking. It is bland and old looking. I also make it clear I really, really like it. But boy, you can't have any kind of nuanced thought. I put this picture up. If you're looking at your screen, I tweeted this the other day. And boy, it got people, a lot of people agreed, 8,000 likes, but it says, I don't give a fuck about production value and visuals. Clearly. You know that. Anybody who comes here knows that. A great game is a great game. I'm just starting, and so far, so good. I'm not shitting on this game. I said, but given how much everybody goes ape shit over visuals, not me. You guys know, anybody who follows me knows I don't give a I like nice visuals if you can get them, but not at the expense of great gameplay. If this game looked like it was toe ball number 1, I would still be loving it because it is really fucking interesting and cool and different and fun. I said, but given how much everybody goes apeshit over visuals, it's staggering how this game can look like this and not get at least a little ding by reviews. And it is. I'm not saying there aren't parts of the game that are attractive. There are. I mean, they look like, last gen graphics, but that's fine. I'm not mocking it. But this literally looks like shit. The game is not shit. And other parts of the game don't look this bad. But the fact that you've got these little, I'm sure this is real geometry, but these look like little flat card stamps. Looks like the exact same fucking tree reused over and over. There is absolutely no visual connective tissue between the water and the land. So it just kind of looks like there's no attention to detail, even at this level of detail. And then, good God, the water is just so fucking tiled that it looks like I'm playing, 1943, an old Capcom top-down shooter. So the fact that that can't be brought up without people thinking I'm hating on the game, I just find that it's just, you know what? It's the same issue I have with politics these days. More people would rather be tribal with their fucking team than they would having an honest discussion. I love this game. It's doing some amazingly creative shit. But it also, whether it's the hardware or not, there are parts of the game that look down and out fucking ugly. This looks like a game made in the era between N64 and GameCube. That's what this fucking looks like. And not the game in general, but parts of the game. And it just does. You can't defend it. And people are like, yes, but you have to understand for this. No, I don't have to understand. Fuck you. I'm telling you, it's a great game. I don't care why. If people are like, it's a last generation game, then don't fucking charge me $70 for it. Or do. And I'll be happy to pay it, which I did. And I'm glad I paid it. I don't regret it. But what comes with that is the ability to look at this shit and say it looks like shit. And there are better looking open world games on the Switch. I believe, isn't the fucking Ubisoft Phoenix Rising on the Switch? Right? It sucks we can't have detailed discourse about a subject anymore, says Radical. Folks react harshly to one point without the full context behind it. Yeah, I'm not complaining. It's a great game, but this looks like shit. I mean, who can defend this? No one. I get it, though. They've got their self-esteem wrapped up in a fucking video game. I get it, and I feel for them. I mean, that's got to be rough. That's got to be rough. Listen to this, though. I got to tell you this, man. We have to help this woman, okay? I don't know if you've heard the story, but this is where we can have an impact amongst gamers in our community. By the way, Sector says, just look at Genshin Impact screenshots from any mobile game. It's ridiculous Nintendo charges $70 for that. Phoenix Rising is on Switch. Does it run like shit, though? Maybe that's how they get away with it. And again, I don't even mind that it looks bad. But the fact that it looks the way it looks and it's getting 10 out of 10s and they're not, I mean, maybe I haven't read all the reviews. Maybe there are a lot of reviews that are giving it great reviews, but still saying, yeah, but it's a really fucking ugly game. Okay, then maybe I just didn't read the reviews that say that, but still gave it great fucking scores. I don't fucking know. Okay, we have to help this woman. She goes to a midnight launch of Zelda. Here's the Kingdom. And it sounds like she found her true love. Maybe. Because she's reached out to Reddit and she says, here's my story, fellas. She says, I went, I saw this guy, I talked to this guy, I made a connection, but I can't fucking find him. Okay, here's what she says. I was the blonde girl who did her hair like Zelda, the post reads. This is coming from VG247. You were the guy who showed me his Zelda-themed tattoo on your leg, and we chatted about Nintendogs, among other things. I had fun talking to you and would like to be able to talk to you more. If this was you, please message me and tell me the name of your childhood Nintendog. LOL. So far, he hasn't responded. What do you mean it's cringe? What's cringe about it? Here's what would be cringe about it, chat. It would be cringe if the guy, or if it was a girl who saw a guy across the GameStop. Then it's cringe. But if they talked if they helping Bukaki says helping women is low T. No, thank you. It would be cringe if it was like, I believe in true love and I saw you from across the GameStop and I need to find you. That's cringe, in my opinion. But if they talked and they got along and she's just like, hey, I didn't get your number. What's wrong with that? What's cringe about that? Half this Sector says half this chat thinks talking to women is cringe. Probably true. So don't help her out. Fuck you. Be an asshole. But why are misconnections always cringe, Lynch? What's wrong with that? Again, the ones that are creepy are like, I think I'm in a fucking rom-com and I saw you and you saw me and we had a connection. That's dumb. But we talked, we hung out, we shared a cup of coffee, a virtual cup of coffee talking about Zelda. Come on. Love at first sight is not real. Limerence is real. Limerence at first sight is real. All right, Ricardo, thank you, buddy. Thank you for all the help today setting up the show. Ricardo just sent me a video. He's got to run. It's like 5 o'clock in, is it France? 5 o'clock in France right now. He sent me a video of Immortals Phoenix Rising. And I'll look at it in a second. It looks like it looked pretty good. Okay. So anyway, help her out, don't help her out. That's you guys. All right, here's what's going on real quick. I want to let you know that we have 2 more slots for the Leadus podcast. The Leadus podcast, if you don't know, you're about to get a chance to win some, so don't get all fussy with me. Okay? I'm going to help you out here. The Leadus podcast is a great podcast. They sponsor our show. It is a video game podcast that is video game trivia, right? So what you do is you listen and you try to see if you're smarter than these motherfuckers on the Leadus podcast. Well, they're running a contest with us right now where we've already got 6 of our members, not our Gabbin and Game members, but just people who watch the show, okay? And at the moment, those individual human beings are, if I can find it, hang on. Those human beings are, oh, Google Docs, where did you put it? Come on, you son of a bitch. I don't know. We got 6 of them. Where did they go? I just fucking saw it. I don't know. We'll find it later. We need 2 more. Okay. And once we get the 2 more, which we'll fill in today, there'll be one final trivia question for those 8. And that person will go on the Leadus podcast with me to compete against me or work with me on my team to prove if we are the best video game trivia people in the world. There's Andrew Alliance. You guys know Andrew. You ever do stuff still with Kind of Funny, Andrew? We did a great conversation. I love that chat with you a while back. But he's got a great YouTube channel. Very good YouTuber, very good human. Everybody say hello to good Sir Andrew Alliance. Good to see you, buddy. So here we go. These are the trivia questions I'm going to read to you and give you a chance to appear on the Leadus podcast. These are both audio trivia questions, okay? So this one, I'm going to play you an audio clip right now. Let me bring it up. If I can find it. Oh, it's right here. I'm not a bright man. Come on now. I'm tired. I'm getting tired. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to play you 2 clips. This is a game called Audio Smash Up, okay? The first person I see that types the correct answer will go on the winner's list. 2 of them today. Then I'll let you know later in the week who actually has won the grand prize. Okay? This is an audio smash up. It basically takes a video game and a TV show or movie and matches them together, and you got to tell me what the title of this new property is created by 2 different properties. One is a game, one is a TV show or movie. Here we go. This is question number 1. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think it is. don't know if you guys can even hear that. You guys probably can't hear that. Hang on.
And you get a new game.
Or is
I'm going to start it
really
again.
a
Hang on.
trick of the light?
And another chance.
Here we go.
When you play a game like this, it really doesn't matter whether you win or lose. Because all you have to do is press reset. And you get a new game.
Or is it merely a trick of the light?
And another chance. But what if it really did count?
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
Imagine if you had to beat the game. Or the game is going to beat you. And there were no
A
resets,
trifling victory.
no replays, and no second chances.
Foolish horrors.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society.
If you value such things,
I call this story
a mecca of madness and morbidity.
All right, there we go. No one's guessed it yet. You got to take two things. You want to take the video game that's being smashed up audio-wise with the TV show or movie that's being mashed up audio-wise. Okay, so here it is again.
when you play a game like this, it really
Yep,
doesn't
Psy
matter whether
gets
you
it.
win or lose.
Psy,
So all
not
you
that
have to do is
Psy.
press reset.
Hang on, Lisa. Okay, so Psy,
get a
you
new
were the
game.
first
Or
one.
is it
That is, Are You Afraid of the Darkest Dungeon? Which mixes Are You Afraid of the Dark and Darkest Dungeon. Okay, we got one more to do. Let me put Psy on the wheel, though, so he knows that he is one. He's a winner, everybody. Psy is a winner. Zing. Hang on. Hang on. Fucking find it. I'm kind of bothered that I don't know where it went. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to give you the last one right now. One moment, one moment, one moment. Google Docs doesn't delete things, so how did this go away? I'll figure it out later. Okay. Okay, so we have Psy. Now here's the next one. Your mom told you were a winner. You are. You absolutely are. Okay, and then the last one is this. It's another audio mashup. Here we go. The last one for the Leadus Prize is... it doesn't matter. Okay, here we go. This is, I need the name of a movie and a video game mashed up together. Okay, here we go. Can you figure out what it is?
It's me, Tug. That's right. Now, Tug who? Me? I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Now, whichever format porno backs is usually the one that becomes the most successful. But you know, Sony, every PlayStation 3 has a Blu-ray.
You talking to me this whole time?
Anybody? Play it one more time. Nobody's getting that. Interesting.
It's me, Tug. That's right. Now, Tug who? Me? I know who I am. I'm a dude playing a dude disguised
Hey,
as another
Bukaki
dude.
got it. Yep.
Now, whichever format porno
Star
backs is
Tropic.
usually
Okay,
the
so
one that becomes
since
the
Bukaki is
most
already on the
successful.
wheel, I'm going to give it to Jason 3D1, who got it after Bukaki. So Jason 3D1, you were on the wheel. That's Star Tropics Thunder. Let me put you there, and then let me talk to you about something else real quick. Congratulations to all the players. All right, hang on. But Jason, it's yours. You got it, buddy. Jason 3D1. Okay, I will get back to you guys later in the week on the next stream or in the Discord about how we will continue to get out of those 8 the grand prize winner. Okay, thank you guys for playing. Please give the Leadus that are in our link tree below a listen. It's a fun podcast, especially if you're kind of like, you know, I'm going to go on a drive and I want to put something on to kind of take my mind off the long drive. It's good people. It's good stuff. Listen real quick. I want to thank Max Durat for coming on the show at the very beginning to talk about Kojima and Metal Gear and his great channel. Go on over there. It'll be in the notes later tonight. If you don't have the link, it's good stuff. The after party is coming up in about 30 minutes. On the after party, as a reminder, we will be playing Layers of Fear, the demo. I will be crank calling a GameStop to see if they know trivia that you guys don't, and if you'll see, it'll be fun. And then I think we're also going to talk about where you go. I'm just like I'm crashing at the end of the day. We are going to be, we're doing Laser Fear. I got a goddamn fucking thing. I don't know where it went. We got a bunch of stuff at the after party. It's coming in about 30 minutes. I'll stream it to all members here on YouTube. And then if you want to be part of the show, the after party is where everybody goes in to the one of the Discord rooms and you're part of the shows. Just talk and shoot the shit as we're talking and playing and doing all kinds of stuff. A lot of fun, very casual, very chill. That's coming up real soon. Don't forget, the Gears of War Game Club is starting this week. I'll have the total dates for you after I get back with Cliffy B later today. And there you go, Ricardo. Thank you, super chats, members, everybody. Thank you for being here, hanging out with me, talking video games, spending some of your time in the world of the games, babe. Come on, Jeff. I'm trying to wrap it up, and I suddenly just got real tired. I think my Ritalin wore off. It ain't easy being me, bitches. Listen to me. I will see you. What are we doing tomorrow? We're doing something tomorrow, but I'll definitely be back on Wednesday for another Gabbin' Games. In the meantime, if I don't see you before then, be well, be safe, and thank you guys seriously for everything. I sure do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Now's the point where I have to actually find the outro music. I don't know where I put. I need to get another screen. I have 3 screens, and it's just not enough. It's just not enough. I need more screens. Because I can't fucking find what I'm looking for. Where in the fuck is the screen that has Alex Plox's fucking music? Hang on, you're like, what the fuck, Jaffe? I know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Bye, y'all. Discord link is below in the show notes. It should be down there and in the link tree.